I absolutely loved this headline from NBC News. Trump gets impeachment revenge on Tom Rice in South Carolina, but Nancy Mace prevails. Well, she did. Trump has endorsed many candidates, and he's doing really well. The candidates that he endorses tend to win. Not all of them, but many of them. Here's where the story gets crazy. Tom Rice, as the incumbent, lost by like 25 plus points. I mean, this was brutal. Donald Trump is the Republican Party. You know what? I get it. The Trump supporters, the diehards, they're not big fans of me. They, our good friends over at Patriots.win, formerly the Donald, they routinely rag on me, say he's a fence sitter, and they call me names. But I get it. I do. We may disagree on many issues, but I certainly think for a lot of reasons Donald Trump is right. Now, that doesn't mean I think he's the best candidate. I'm kind of torn between Trump and Ron DeSantis. Truth be told, Ron DeSantis has got more tact. For a lot of reasons, I think he would be a better president than Donald Trump. However, I don't think DeSantis would go in like a bull in a china shop. I think he's going to go in. He's going to do well. I think he would do a fantastic job. I think DeSantis has done wonderfully in Florida. I think Trump did a lot of things wrong that DeSantis wouldn't do. But right now, my friends, we're looking at Donald Trump's revenge. And it is nearly complete. Well, I shouldn't say nearly complete because depending on how you frame Donald Trump's revenge, it could be as simple as the rhinos who voted to impeach Trump are going to get wiped out. They're going to lose their elections. Or you could say Donald Trump's ultimate revenge is getting reelected and then actually draining the swamp. Trump made that mistake. He got into office and he brought swamp monsters in with him. I mean, I always say John Bolton, he got some bad advice. And he ended up getting jammed up for 2 or 3 years. 2019 was pretty good economically. 2020 was COVID, so Trump did not get a fair chance at just leading this ship. He had intelligence agencies on him. He had lawsuit after lawsuit. He had the phony investigations, the Russiagate hoax. So, I kind of feel like if Donald Trump were to get in at this point, he's going to clean house. He's going to say, no, 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 everybody out. But it's hard to say for sure. Elon Musk recently came out and said he voted Republican for the first time. A historically Democrat district in Texas flipped Republican. Elon Musk says he voted for this woman, not the Democrat. And he's leaning towards Ron DeSantis in 2024. So it remains to be seen. My friends, I would like to bring to you now the current state of Donald Trump's revenge. I just love the way that sounds. It's funny. You see, 10 Republicans voted to impeach Donald Trump. Donald Trump, now, one of them has lost. We're likely going to see Liz Cheney lose. She's leading the January 6 hearings, and she's 30 points underwater. But several other Republicans who voted to impeach Trump have retired or announced their retirement is coming. One Democrat who refused to impeach, Jeff Van Drew, he won in a landslide in a moderate district. Let's talk about a red wave baiting. Let's talk about that. Jeff Van Drew winning a landslide means regular people are like, this is what we want. We are sick of everything else. Yeah, I'm sick of the Republicans. I am. I'm sick of the Democrats, but I'm absolutely sick of the Republicans. We'll take a look at this news and talk about what's going on. But my friends, I want to add one more point to this intro. It's the economy, stupid. Yeah, the Fed is talking about hiking interest rates. Some say, what else are you going to do? This inflation is out of control. Better leadership, I suppose. Better energy production. But when that hits, people are going to figuratively revolt. I mean, hopefully they don't literally revolt. But they're going to say enough of this. And they might bring back Donald Trump. Because what memory do they have? Barack Obama? Well, they tried that with Biden. That didn't work. They're going to say 2019 was great. But we'll see. I think looking at Trump's revenge, these people losing these elections, his endorsements winning, and Jeff Van Drew winning, shows cultural issues do matter. And when it comes to Donald Trump, he is more trustworthy than the word Democrat. Let's read the story. But before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work. As a member, you'll get exclusive access to segments. You'll get access to exclusive segments, phrase it properly, of the Timcast IRL podcast. Last night we had Drew Hernandez and Jorge Ventura on the show talking about the border issues, talking about Ezra Miller. These are not family friendly. It's Timcast After Dark. Check those episodes out, but as a member at timcast.com, you're supporting our journalists who strive every day to give you the best fact-based news. I am very strict when it comes to reporting, and you're supporting our infrastructure. We use Rumble because we don't want to support big tech censorship, and we want to be more resilient, so we can use your support over at timcast.com. Let's read that first story. From NBC News, Trump gets impeachment revenge on Tom Rice in South Carolina, but Nancy Mace prevails. This is interesting. Tom Rice, targeted by former President Donald Trump for voting to impeach him after the Capitol riot, was defeated by a Trump-backed challenger in South Carolina Tuesday night, while Rep. Nancy Mace, who also incurred Trump's ire for criticizing him over January 6th, prevailed. Yeah, but hold on a minute. If Trump deserves to be criticized for January 6th, he could have came out much more strongly than he did. That doesn't mean I'm saying he did anything wrong. He had a rally and some bad people, some people did some stupid stuff. There was a riot. It was bad. A lot of people, the Madamimas, they call them, had the doors open for them, didn't know what was going on. I think the whole thing was bad. Don't get me wrong. But Donald Trump could have done a better job. Just to say, it's kind of like, it's not Trump's fault. He said, let's go home and be peaceful. He said he wanted a peaceful march. So her criticism of Donald Trump there, I'm not surprised she won. Rice's primary defeat in the state's 7th congressional district at the hands of State Rep. Russell Fry marks the first time this election cycle that a pro-impeachment Republican has lost at the ballot box. Rice's loss also delivered Trump his first victory against an incumbent this year. Trump-backed candidates had lost 5 straight races against incumbents entering Tuesday. Trump was successful in ousting Rep. David McKinley in West Virginia, but McKinley was up against another incumbent in Rep. Alex Mooney. They were put into the same district as part of redistricting this year. But in South Carolina's 1st congressional district, a different story unfolded. Mace's victory over former state Rep. Katie Arrington meant yet another loss for Trump in his effort to exact revenge on Republicans he's deemed disloyal. Trump reacted to both projected outcomes on his Truth Social platform. He called Arrington a long shot who ran a great race and way overperformed, adding congrats to Nancy Mace, who should easily be able to defeat her Democrat opponent. Turning his attention to Fry and Rice, he wrote, "The biggest news of the evening so far is that Russell Fry beat impeachmaster Tom Rice with a vote of more than 51%, therefore winning outright with no need for a runoff. Rice surprised many by joining 9 other Republicans in voting to impeach Trump after the former president's supporters stormed the Capitol on January 6th. The congressman knew his impeachment vote could cost him re-election, but expressed no regrets in an interview with NBC News last week. Yeah, well, what about those other Republicans? They're retiring. First, let me show you the hard numbers. Russell Fry with 51.1% to Tom Rice's 24.5%. That is apocalyptic. You go up against Trump, you get wiped out. Now on the left, they say, see, this is the Trump cult. This is the Trump. No, it's not. It really isn't. There certainly is a Trump cult. I certainly think so. There are people who just, no matter what Trump does, they will defend him every turn. I think Trump deserves to be defended from a lot of his attacks because, as it turns out, the media lies all the time. But come on, man. Nobody is above criticism. That being said, Donald Trump did a pretty good job with what he had, and so his endorsements matter. It's not about blindly following Trump. For me personally, I like Trump because he's challenging the system. He's not perfect. He's fairly moderate, but I'm just sick of the games. I'm sick of the establishment, the manipulation, and the lies. And we want someone who can stand up and say enough. Now, Ron DeSantis can do that. The question is, I'm worried that, will Ron DeSantis get into office and say, we're shutting her down? I mean, like going after the cronies and firing people. I think Ron DeSantis might get in and fall into the same trap Trump did. He's going to say, okay, we'll fire some of these people, we'll bring some people and we need some experts, and then the swamp monsters are going to be there and they're going to get them. I think at this point, Donald Trump is going to go in and go, excuse me, no, you're fired, out of the building. And I'm going to be like, thank you. But we'll see. Professionally, I like DeSantis more. It recently appeared, it was a couple months ago. Actually, how long ago was this? It was several months, it was in April, I think. I appeared on the Daily Wire's Backstage Live, and we talked about this. And I said, I lean toward, look, I'm a moderate guy. I've always been traditionally liberal, voted Democrats. Even in 2020, I was supporting Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang. Still like Tulsi. I think she's wrong on certain things. Andrew Yang, I don't trust. Bernie Sanders, I don't trust. And so I'm like, I think DeSantis. I really do. I think he's conservative. I think he's bad on certain things. I'm not sure if I trust him on free speech issues. But he's substantially better than everything else. The question is, will he do right in getting into D.C. and getting rid of the swamp monsters? I'm not entirely sure. Now let's take a look at this real quick. 7th District primary. Russell Fry, as I mentioned, with 51.1%. Tom Rice, the incumbent, losing. You remember this story because I covered it when it happened because I love it. Democrat turned Republican wins landslide victory. People don't want Biden's dysfunctional America. Now, Jeff Andrew was a Democrat, refused to impeach Trump. Then he switches to the Republican Party, wins a landslide. But get this. It's a GOP primary landslide. I think he got, 85%? Winning 85% of the vote. You know why? Trump supporters are not far right. Some of them, maybe. They're not QAnon creepy conspiracy cultists. They're regular people. Jeff Van Drew, a moderate, former Democrat, got 85% of the GOP primary vote. That is to say, these primary voters, regular people, not far right, this is what they're looking for. Donald Trump's endorsement is worth a certain amount. Maybe 20 to 30 points in some cases. But you've got the incumbent advantage, you've got a moderate politician backed by Trump, and people are like, yes, please. I think Jeff Van Drew refusing to impeach was a powerful statement. And for this, he's won. This is what we want to see. This is unity. A former Democrat winning a Republican primary, that is unity. Republicans voting for a Democrat in their primary? Because this guy's shown principle and authenticity. I saw a great quote. It was a young person who said, it was actually, I think a comment was made to us on Timcast.io. They said, I'm a young voter, and I would vote for Logan Paul over any one of these inauthentic establishment politicians. And you know what? I agree. I gotta be honest, I actually think Logan Paul is pretty legit. I've seen some of his stuff. He's a good dude. You know, look, the Paul brothers are not, they've had their issues, but you really take a look at the hard work they put in, their ethos and everything, and, well, Jake Paul may be a little crazier, but he also ragged on Joe Biden. Logan Paul is a hard worker. I dig the walk Logan Paul does. Now, you look at these guys, and you look at the authenticity people feel from seeing them, and it's true. Now, granted, I think Jake and Logan Paul aren't that authentic. I'm not saying that to drag them, I'm saying their personalities. They do a show. It's not the same as somebody who does vlogs like this and kind of just wings it with no script. But I do think they are substantially more authentic than 99.9% of politicians. And so that's why I think it matters so much that Jake Paul came out and slammed Joe Biden. Look, I'm citing these YouTube guys. I was like, what's up with that? Jake Paul, little YouTube troublemaker, big following. I say little, I mean that as in like he's making a little bit of trouble here and there, but he's a big prominent celebrity. And he's coming out and saying Joe Biden's the problem. You know what he said? Biden's accomplishments. Highest gas prices, worse inflation, plummeting crypto, highest rent prices ever, and a new incomprehensible language. If you're reading this and voted for Biden and you still don't regret it, then you are the American problem. Bravo, dude. Man, I like the Paul brothers now. Actually, I've been a fan of Logan Paul for a while, since I watched him do that boxing match. And he said, there was like some guy who snuck in, and he made some comments about working hard, doing your thing, and I was like, this dude's all right. It's like I watch his stuff. I've seen the smear pieces about him. But I think they're all right, man. Now, Jake Paul, I don't know a whole lot about. But if he's going to come out and be clear-minded about the Joe Biden problem, respect. Let's jump over to our good friends over at Patriots.win. I always say our good friends because it's either true or it's not true. That's why it's funny. Patriots.win, it's a love-hate relationship. The guys over at the Donald, they, what did I say? I said July is MAGA month. And that means we're all going to change our profile pictures to have American flags behind us, and we're going to grill every weekend. And then they were like, every weekend? You mean every day? And I'm like, okay, agreed. But they were like, Tin is right. And then whenever they make a post about me, it's like a bunch of people arguing whether I'm, like a cuck, or I'm correct, or I'm just red-pilling people, or whatever. And to my good friends over at Patriots.win, I don't come to the Donald all that often. Some people think I'm there all the time. I'm not really. Some people have pointed out that if I went there more often, I might have more facts. That's actually fairly true. When the dad will post something that corrects the fake news, like when the media lies about Trump or the right, they'll have the correct version up, typically more often and much faster than other sources. So maybe I'll dive into what they're saying more often than I do. But anyway, they have this post that says U.S. Rep. Tom Rice, one of 10 House Republicans to vote to impeach Donald Trump over the January 6th insurrection, has been ousted from Congress in his South Carolina GOP primary race. Rice was defeated by State Rep. Russell Fry, who was backed by Trump. Now here we can see Kinzinger retired, Upton retired, Katko retired, Gonzalez retired, Rice loses. Now what about the remaining individuals? You got Butler in Washington, you got Newhouse in Washington, you got Cheney in Wyoming, and you got Valdow in California. You got Meyer in Michigan. We'll see. I can say for Liz Cheney, not looking good. First, let me bring you to this piece. GOP Rep. Fred Upton. Let's talk about Donald Trump's revenge. It's not really revenge. Tom Rice losing is funny, but the rest of them are just retiring. Trump doesn't even need to do anything. These people know they cannot win. Tom Rice was like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to go up against Trump and then he lost. Check us out. The Michigan Republican, one of the longest tenured Republicans in the House, to retire. Upton was one of 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach then President. He has decided to retire rather than seek re-election in 2022. Adam Kinzinger, oh, you know him, you love him. Kinzinger retiring from Congress vows broader fight nationwide against Trumpism. Of course, you know that he's one of 10 House Republicans to vote to impeach the president, and he's on the January 6th committee. Next up, we have Republican Rep. John Katko, who voted for Trump's impeachment, is retiring. Look at them. They're all just bowing out. Anthony Gonzalez is retiring. Here's what happened to the House Republicans who voted to impeach Trump. This from September 17th, 2021. They know they can't win. Donald Trump brought in new voices, new faces, and a new energy to the Republican Party that cannot be denied. And of course, then we have Liz Cheney. Oh, Liz Cheney. I tweeted, my favorite holiday is Liz Cheney getting voted out of office day. Because I don't like Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney comes from a troubled legacy, as it were. I think she is duplicitous. I think she is establishment. She's an establishment politician. Their whole thing is power, manipulation. They want war. Not a fan. Liz Cheney is underwater. Take a look at this story from Politico. As Cheney thaws for re-election, poll from rival group shows her trailing badly. The survey conducted by the Club for Growth is consistent with other data out of Wyoming in the last year. So she is going to take the Tom Rice route, it appears. She's going to run for re-election. Maybe she wins. I don't know. I don't trust her. Maybe she wins. I cannot imagine the people of Wyoming, which I believe is the #1 most Trump-supporting state in the country, are going to vote for one of the most ardent anti-Trump politicians in Congress. Politico reported, May 27th, GOP Rep. Liz Cheney is down 30 points in a new survey of her August primary, conducted by the Club for Growth, which is opposing the embattled incumbent. The poll, which provides perhaps the starkest illustration yet of the political peril Cheney faces this year, shows Wyoming attorney Harriet Hageman garnering 56% of the vote to Cheney's 26% in the GOP primary. A third Republican got 12% support, and just 6% are undecided. Hageman was recruited and endorsed by former President Donald Trump in response to Cheney's vote to impeach him last year, alongside 9 other Republicans. The race for Wyoming's lone congressional district is one where the Club for Growth and Trump, who have quickly turned from allies to foils, are aligned. Though the club has not formally endorsed Hageman, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, mind you. The poll, shared first with Politico, was conducted this week by WPA Intelligence, a Republican firm, ahead of Friday's candidate filing deadline. Trump has taken intense interest in the race because Cheney has been a prominent critic of his attempts to subvert the 2020 election results. After her impeachment vote, she became one of just 2 Republicans, along with Rep. Kinzinger, to sit on the commission investigating the January 6th Capitol riots that Speaker Nancy Pelosi created. You see, this is BS. Many Republicans wanted on the panel. They want on the committee. Nancy Pelosi would not allow them on. The polling reinforced another piece of data released a year ago, which showed that 52% of Wyoming GOP primary voters were planning to vote against Cheney, regardless food challenges are bravo, Wyoming. West Virginia is the second most Trump-supporting state. Of course, that's where I'm at. Let's bring it home, West Virginia. Let's see what you can do. I think the West Virginia primaries, well, they did already happen, so it is what it is. They're going to say, this week provided evidence that GOP primary voters were willing to come back to some Republicans Trump branded as enemies, as Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger and Attorney General Chris Carr all won primaries against Trump-backed challengers. Look, I think people do like moderates. In Georgia, we're seeing it. Some say Democrats are jumping parties to sabotage them. I don't know about all that. But let's take a look at Trump's track record. From Axios, as of June 15th, Trump endorsement tracker, which candidates have won and lost. For the U.S. Senate, 6 won and 0 lost out of 8 endorsements. Wow. So we still have endorsee as the incumbent. We have Kelly Tshibaka of Alaska, running against Lisa Murkowski, and Blake Masters in Arizona. In the U.S. House, 12 have won and 3 have lost out of 26 endorsements. So we'll see. Statewide office, 8 won and 6 lost out of 21 endorsements. Well, that should be interesting. You know, that's Raffensperger, that's Kemp. Axios reports candidates backed by former President Trump mostly prevailed in primaries on Tuesday night in a fresh test of the former president's influence over the GOP. Why it matters. A string of losses among candidates endorsed by Trump in May has punctured perceptions of his dominance over the GOP for the first time in years. I'm going to give you a pause right there. I don't see it. This Tom Rice victory, this is Trump's revenge. And there's more coming. I think we're going to see Trump succeeding in many of his endorsements. Not perfect, though. Former Nevada, oh yeah, actually, did they mention Dr. Oz? And we gotta pull that one up. Because I think, yeah, Mehmet Oz of Pennsylvania. Not a fan of that endorsement. But Trump got it right. So there you go. Oz owes Trump that favor. They say former Nevada Attorney General Adam Laxalt won the state's Republican Senate primary on Tuesday against former Army veteran Sam Brown, who mounted a late-stage comeback. The big picture. An Axios analysis of Trump's 173 endorsements found his record, while still positive overall, is far weaker when candidates running unopposed or in non-competitive races are filtered out. 7 candidates endorsed by Trump were defeated in GOP primaries last month, including 4 high-profile challengers in Georgia. Look, I think this just shows Trump does have the dominance. He has the majority. But we will see. It will be updated. Maybe it turns out in the end, it goes sour. I don't know, though. I think Donald Trump, I think he has it. I think when people like Jake Paul are ragging on Joe Biden, this is the barometer for regular people. Jake Paul does not come off as a dude to me who is a diehard Politico, who's reading the news all day, every day like I do. Even when I'm like bedridden, my back's hurting, and I'm like sitting there and I can't move, so I couldn't even work. I was like reading Twitter and I'm like watching these news stories. Jake Paul's the opposite. This is a guy who makes entertainment content, but he has been stricken, as it were. No, probably he's seeing his crypto market tank. He's seeing his portfolio, his stocks probably tank, and he's like, what's happening? He's probably thinking, like, I worked so hard, and now I'm losing it all. Why is this happening? I got news for you, Jake. Joe Biden wants to raise taxes. That is going to be a kick in the balls, to put it mildly. Now Joe Biden's like, it only affects people who make more than $400,000 a year. I'm like, okay, well, that'll affect Jake Paul. But I don't think that's true necessarily. I think everyone's gonna get hit by it. The media kept trying to claim that Trump was raising tax on the middle class when he cut them. But here we go, there's more. Biden says he's changing people's lives. Critics say, yeah, for the worse. This is really amazing. I don't want to hear any more of these lies about reckless spending. We're changing people's lives, he shouted. Under President Biden's Americans' lives have changed for the worst, tweeted Rep. Mike Rogers. President Biden is right, said Senator John Kennedy. 40-year high inflation, formula shortage, and $5 gas are changing lives. Yeah, Joe, for the worse. Come on, dude. And it's going to get way worse. You ready for this, my friends? Fed set for largest rate hike in a decade. This one's tough. You know, I was asked, I think it was by the Progressive, like, what should we do about inflation? And I said, look, the solution seems to be a rate hike. I said, raise interest rates. It's the only way to tamp down on inflation. It sucks to say. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Federal Reserve. I'm not a fan of all of this. I do believe the rate hike is going to slow down inflation. The problem is you have too much money being printed. That's the real problem. So I don't know if we needed a rate hike. I think this was them gutting the system and then gutting it further. Perhaps the issue is the mass printing of money, the changing of the money system. What was it? We got off the fractional reserve system in 2020 and we switched. This was in March, I believe, to an infinite reserve or non-reserve, meaning normally a bank can issue out a certain amount of money. They can create money supply through the issuance of loans, through debt. But they had to have a certain amount of money in the bank. Well, not anymore. Now they can just crank it all out. This has rapidly spiked the money supply, which means tons of spending but no production, which is going to lead to massive inflation. Now that they've created a problem, they say, okay, we slammed the gas on, now we're slamming the brakes. That is not an appropriate way to drive. I'll say it again. I do think the rate hikes are going to result in a tamping down inflation. Perhaps the bigger problem is the Fed itself. The Hill says, the Federal Reserve is expected to announce the biggest interest rate hike since 1994 on Wednesday, after an alarming inflation report and stock market meltdown upended the central bank's plans. The Federal Open Markets Committee, the panel of Fed officials responsible for setting monetary policy, was on track to announce a 0.5% percentage point hike to its baseline interest rate and the end of its two-day meeting Wednesday. It would have been the second 50 basis point hike issued by the FOMC in consecutive meetings as the bank struggles to get ahead of rising prices. But Fed watchers now believe it's going to be 75 basis points, so 0.75%. Consumers and businesses have become increasingly concerned about the state of the economy and expect inflation to keep rising above current levels, which can serve as a self-fulfilling prophecy about quick Fed action. Not only is the Federal Reserve faced with the risk of inflation becoming embedded into consumer and business expectations, but it must also factor market behavior into its policy decisions. Okay, let's just slow it down. The crash. Oh, it's a coming. I look at my stocks. Oof. They're down. Yikes. My crypto. Oh, crypto brutal. It's bad. Yeah, it's bad. Now, I'll tell you this. This is the issue why I think class issues are why I think class is an issue. I have lost more money in stocks and crypto than most people make in like 5-10 years. But I'm doing all right. I mean, it's no secret that I've been doing all right for myself for some time. But I just want to tell you, under Biden's economy, man, it really did feel like someone just punched me in the gut as hard as possible. It sucks. It really does. But, look, man, I come from but humble beginnings. I'm not going to cry about it. I know a lot of people are freaking out about crypto. My answer is I'm not selling any of it. I'm not selling my stocks. These things always recover. They always rebound. So for me, I'm just like, well, yeah, you weather the storm. Maybe crypto tanks completely. Yeah, it is what it is. Maybe I'll end up losing a lot of money. Well, that's not why I bought crypto in the first place. But I will say, the fact that regular people are losing everything in this market and they're struggling to get by, it just shows why I tend to lean left on certain class issues. I don't gotta cry about it. When you see these rich liberals who tell you, just buy an electric car, I don't care about gas prices. Oh, I get it. I do get it. I drive a Tesla. So when I see the $5 a gallon gas, I drive right past it. Come home, plug it in. It's very, very cheap to recharge the battery on my Tesla for local commuting. But I'm not an idiot. I know most people don't live this way. I know most people don't have Teslas. I know people need gas to survive. I get it. I would never tell a regular person, just get an electric car. I mean, I will, sarcastically. $54,000 on average, if you can even get one because of the shortages. And if everybody drove an electric car, the grid would be overloaded. Well, maybe not completely overloaded, but probably. The constant recharging. This is why I can't stand the elites. They come out and they laugh about it. I drive an electric car. That's great. Now I understand, if you do good work and you succeed and you make money, you can take care of yourself. We got solar panels getting installed at our new facility, so we're never going to have power outages. Never. So we don't got to worry about the power going out when we do our shows. I've got an electric car and I've got a gas car. So I can, whichever one, if the gas prices go down, I'll use gas. If it won't, I got an electric car. But that's thanks to you guys. So imagine the ineptitude and the insanity faced that these people present when it is because of you, all of you, who have lifted up the elite, gloating in your face about how you are the problem. That's the amazing thing to me. When you see these people like Michael Bloomberg say tax the poor, I'm like, dude, you are rich and have access to the things you do because all of those people do work and then you are granted access. Me, I get it. This is why I always say I lean left on a lot of economic policy. I'm not some guy who thinks I've done everything myself and that. I'm fairly individualist. But I take a look at what's about to hit, and Democrats are in for a reckoning, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because it is people like Stephen Colbert, and it was who was it? You can remember her name, the senator, where they're both like, "Well, I drive an electric car, so I don't care," or they're like, "I don't really notice the price. I drive an electric car." That's like saying to the people who have put you in this position of wealth, let them eat cake. Yeah, I'm not that crazy. I don't want people coming to my house with pitchforks. Yeah, I'll tell you this, man. I'm grateful to everything that we've been able to accomplish, that what I've been able to accomplish in my life. But I tell you this, property, it's a piece of paper. You think you own those buildings? You think you own those houses? No, I know exactly what it means. If this system were to crumble, the house that I own, it's a piece of paper. All that matters is your ability to defend yourself. So right now, what do I see? I see a lot of people who watch my show, who watch my content, and they have afforded me a good life. And I am eternally appreciative of that. And then I see the Democrats. Same thing. They're voted into power, they manipulate that power for personal gain, and then spit on the working class. That's why they're going to lose. Because you cannot bite the hand that feeds you. But they don't think so. They think they're smarter. They think they're better than you. Me, I say it all the time. I'm a guy who can point to what's stuff on the internet. And that's it. And we're doing a lot. We're building. We got new episodes up at Cast Castle. You should really check out the new shows we're producing with Jamie Kilstein. So go to youtube.com/castcastle. You'll get a kick out of the past 2 vlogs we've done and the next one coming up. And then we're going to be rolling out the established format. We've been trying to do this for some time. I just want to put it this way. When you look at Trump's revenge, what does Trump win? Trump's a rich dude. But you know what Trump does? Go to his restaurant, go to his ice cream parlor. I know people. I've talked to people who work at these Trump places, and they say Trump would come down and hand out $100 bills. And they'd be like, I love working here. They'd say he's always the nicest guy. Now, Trump may not always be the nicest guy in reality, but I think Trump does champion the working class, and I think the Democrats don't. I think the establishment despises the working class, and that's why we're going to see this. Now, I bring up this rate hike. It's the economy, stupid. I think Trump's going to get his revenge, but I think people are going to look at the economy and just say, I'm out. Bye, Democrats. So we'll see. I'll leave it there. Next segment coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. You're not going to want to miss this one. Dennis Prager will be in the castle. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Obviously, I'm a fan, and I really want to talk about that Bill Maher segment where he was talking about tampons in the men's room, and Bill didn't believe him, and he was right. So normally we don't announce guests, but Dennis announced he was coming, so I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up then. Go to youtube.com/TimCastIRL and check it out. We will see you all there. Thanks for hanging out. Again, 8 p.m. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all then. During the 2020 primaries, we were told that all we needed of Joe Biden was his corporeal form. I kid you not. There was an article titled, Stay Alive, Joe Biden. That was it. The idea was that there was enough hatred of Donald Trump among Democrat voters, it didn't matter who ran. So probably what happened was they looked at Buttigieg or Yang or whoever else and said, let's not waste an up-and-coming young star. Throw Joe Biden out there because he didn't got to do anything. And it was surprising to many of us who paid attention and knew that Joe Biden would be awful, and here he is. So Joe Biden, effectively, he gets elected through what I refer to as Trump being anti-elected. Meaning, people voted against Trump. Obviously, Joe Biden wasn't even campaigning, but this brings us to potential 2024 races. And do you think Joe Biden's gonna win? No. It may have worked one time, along with a lot of other strategies, like the shadow campaign, Time magazine called it, where powerful individuals came together and strategized on how to defeat Donald Trump, changing rules and laws, and there were lawsuits, and a lot of other things happened. And Joe Biden ends up becoming president. What are you going to do now in 2024 with record high gas prices, record high inflation? Right now, Democrats are desperately searching for an alternative, knowing they cannot run this man again. It's simple. Joe Biden will be 82 years old by the time he assumes his second term, assuming he does. And he will be 86 by the last year of his term. And that's a big number. Look, Joe Biden has a storied career, as it were. Let's give him that. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden or what he represents. I'm not a fan of his policies or what was he at, 51 years in office or some ridiculous number? Let the man sunset. Sit down in his wheelchair or his rascal, wheel off into the sunset, put a blanket on his lap where he can just sit and fall asleep. So I don't think they can run this guy again. I don't think he's going to win. The other day we were talking with Robert Barnes. You may know Robert Barnes, Viva and Barnes, they do a show together. And he said he doesn't think the January 6th committee is going to go after Trump with a criminal referral. Why? Because if Donald Trump gets indicted, Ron DeSantis runs. And the Democrats stand no chance against Ron DeSantis. DeSantis is insanely popular. And over on Predicted, it goes back and forth as to DeSantis going to be the next Republican nominee or maybe Trump. Now, Ron DeSantis says he won't run if Donald Trump is running. But many speculate that we may get a Trump-DeSantis ticket, which would be incredible. I mean, that's a landslide ticket. Okay, figuratively landslide. I mean, that's a ticket that probably does really well. The funny thing now is, you actually have, I think it's what is on The View. They're like, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, that will crush Trump and DeSantis. Are you kidding me? Democrats are so desperate, that's the best they can offer. Let me show you the polling. Let me show you the new polling. Democrats have lost Latino voters. Republicans are actually making tremendous gains against young black men. Regular people in general are shown at the gas stations, and they're seeing a sticker of Joe Biden pointing to the price saying, I did that, and they're going, you sure did, Joe. Jake Paul comes out, and he says, if you voted for Joe Biden and you don't recognize or you don't regret it, you're the American problem. Democrats, if they run Joe Biden, who apparently says he's going to be running again, if they run him, then okay, maybe this time you get your figurative 49-state landslide. Landslides have happened in the past, and we're dealing with unprecedented times. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and that may mean that regular people just say, I don't care, give me the mean orange man. It's almost like a big ask. Donald Trump couldn't cut it in 2020 because people just really didn't like him. Blame the media. But now things are so bad, I don't know if there is a word that could be said by the press that would make someone be like, okay, yeah, I'll vote for Biden again. So they have no choice. This is where we're at now. Of course, there's also the possibility of a constitutional crisis. Over in New Mexico, Otero County is still refusing to certify the election and rejecting a court order. And here's the crazy part. No one knows what will happen if they don't do it. We're just sitting there scratching our head like, what do we do now? There's no results. One election commissioner said, what's the point of a commission if a court can just force you to do something? So he said, nah, I'm not going to do it. The midterms are going to be really interesting. 2023 is primary season, and 2024 is going to be bonkers. So let's see. 2023 primary elections. It's going to be crazy. And then you get the actual campaign in 2024. Oh man, I hope you are ready. Strap on your safety belts, my friends, because this is going to get nuts. Let's read the news and figure out what's going on in Democrat world as they're trying to dump Joe Biden. Before we do, head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work directly. We need you. As a member, you are supporting our journalists, writing important stories. It's Julian Assange's extradition. That's Adrian Norman. We're also hiring more journalists and working to put together a fact-checking organization so we can use your support by going to timcast.com, clicking that sign up button, and signing up. You will also get access to exclusive segments of the Timcast IRL podcast Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. And you're supporting our infrastructure because we are using Rumble's cloud infrastructure and video player to get away from big tech censorship. So again, timcast.com, but don't forget, smash that like button right now, subscribe to this channel, and share this video everywhere. The most powerful way to help is just sharing the video. Let's read that first story from Yahoo News. Democrats are weighing whether Biden should decline to run for re-election in 2024, report says. Now I'm going to pause right there. You're going to be saying, you said Democrats want to replace the guy. Not that they're weighing it. No, I know. This is just the latest story. We also have this one from May 24th from New York Mag. There has to be a backup plan. There's a backup plan, right? Inside the 2024 soul searching that's happening in every corner of the Democratic Party, they are basically saying, we must run somebody else. I don't think they want to admit it. You've had journalists ask the press secretary, is Joe Biden running again? And they have no choice but to be like, of course. Joe Biden is a strapping young lad of mental, of robust cognitive faculties. Come on, no one believes that. They didn't say that literally, I'm joking, but here's the story from Yahoo News. Last December, President Joe Biden told ABC News that he planned to run for re-election in 2024 if he remained in good health. I'm going to pause right there. Considering Joe Biden is not in good health, he must certainly mean he's not going to be running, but sure. Earlier this year in Brussels, he said he'd be very fortunate if his 2020 opponent, former President Donald Trump, sought a rematch. However, an increasingly vocal segment of Democrats rattled by Biden's middling approval ratings, concerned about his age, worried about the lack of voter enthusiasm heading into 2022 midterms, are questioning whether the president should seek re-election in 2024, according to the New York Times. Many Democratic lawmakers are pondering Biden's standing in the party, with the base deeply appreciative of the 79-year-old former Delaware senator and two-term vice president for defeating Trump at the ballot box in 2020. I don't buy it. So I told Steve Bannon, Trump got anti-elected. When you looked at voter enthusiasm for Joe Biden, it was in the gutter. Come on, leftists and young people were not enthusiastic about Joe Biden. But these same people, their enthusiasm for voting against Donald Trump was through the roof, comparable, if not higher, than Trump supporter enthusiasm. And that was an overlooked predictor of what was to come. So I certainly think so. I do think if you have questions about rule changes or ballot harvesting, let's make sure we answer them, because I want a good, clean fight, no hidden below the belt. I want to make sure that come November, people are confident in the results. I want to make sure that come 2024, people are confident in the results. And that's why I say to all of Trump supporters, have the audits, have the investigations, have the signature verification, do all of it, get it done so we can move on and then have a legitimate election. But I tell you this, I'm sure there are a lot of Democrats who are crossing their fingers that they can use Donald Trump's own statements against him. Because when they lose, they're going to say, but wait. They did it in 2016. Let's not play that. We know that polls are swinging heavily in favor of Republicans, which means, quite simply, win it. Go out and vote. Get your friends to vote. What would they say before? MAGA 3 times or whatever? You bring 3 people with you to the polling place. To your designated polling place, vote. Win the election, crush it. They say, there also appear to be questions about his ability to lead, this is Biden, a hyper-polarized country, especially as Republicans currently remain in a strong position to regain control of one or both houses of Congress. Democrats have a wafer-thin majority in the House and the Senate, and have struggled to pass major pieces of legislation. And the GOP is looking at 2024 to win back control of the White House, particularly if Trump decides to run again. Yeah, we all know Trump is running. Come on, let's be serious. Here's the story from the New York Times. Should Biden run in 2024, Democratic whispers of no start to rise. In interviews, dozens of frustrated Democratic officials, members of Congress, and voters expressed doubts at the president's ability to rescue his reeling party and take the fight to Republicans. Midway through, this from June 11th through the 2020 primary season, many Democratic lawmakers and party officials are venting their frustration. So it's effectively the same story we saw over at Yahoo. So let's move on to the more overt panic from Intelligencer. I love this. There has to be a backup plan. There's a backup plan, right? Here we go. Oh, they're doing one of these on a Tuesday evening in April. Nearly half a century after Joe Biden first publicly mused about running for president. An unsettled cross-section of the Democratic establishment assembled at Pinehurst, a golf resort in North Carolina. Inflation was at a 40-year high. Full stop. A 40-year high, 6 months in a row. Shove off, dude. Biden's disapproval rate is at 56%. And editors of the New York Times were writing a front-page report about how his signature achievement, $1.9 trillion quote that was rally spending, has barely registered with voters. I love that quote. Joe Biden's like, don't criticize us for massive spending. We're changing lives here. It's like, yeah, changing lives for the worse. Gas prices are through the roof and inflation is at record highs. Come on, man. Here we go. The lobbyists, donors, staffers, and elected officials were gathering for the spring policy meeting of the Democratic Governors Association, and a scheduled session concerns such topics as healthcare and diversity in governance. But between panel discussions in the hallways and at the cocktail reception on the lawn, conversation shifted from grim, the midterms, to grimmer. Oof. The state of the party's planning for 2024, when Biden will stand for re-election on the eve of his 82nd birthday. Oh man, I'm sure they had to throw up in their mouths a little bit. Biden hasn't formally announced his campaign for a second term, but in his mind, there's no question he's running. That's my expectation. He said early in his tenure, yes, he told an interviewer he had to. Now, I'll tell you what. If Joe Biden is not running, they need to announce now. Like they've got only a few months because they need to start Democratic primary campaigning. Okay, here's how it goes. They need to start taking people like Gavin Newsom. You see, Gavin Newsom joined Truth Social. Okay, he's running, right? Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, whoever it is, they got to have a primary. Maybe they step back and say, go for it, Kamala. We're going to give you the chance. But she can't even win. She didn't even get one delegate. Tulsi Gabbard got more delegates than Kamala Harris did. So what are they going to do? They need to start murmurs now, to give people a chance to mull over, to do polls, to try and figure out who is the top contender. Now! Then come 2023, you will start to see people stand up and say, okay, we're running. By early 2024, you will see hard debates between the frontrunners in this primary. If they wait, if they aren't planning now, then they will be late to the party. So we should know relatively soon, unless they are so out of their minds that they don't know how to deal with this and they can't make a decisive action. But you know what? I gotta be honest. Considering the state of the Democratic Party, I'm convinced they're in shambles. They have no idea what's going on. Look at this image that intelligence are used for Joe Biden. It makes him look like he's just not there anymore. Oh man, and he was never there to begin with, I guess. Here we go. Oh, I love this one from the New Republic. Democrats who want to replace Biden in 2024 have lost touch with reality. No! You had one chance left. They should be worried about the party's dismal electoral prospects this fall. But making a swap at the top of the ticket isn't the solution. Lost touch with reality? Okay, I think you have. Reality is Joe Biden could maybe pull off something against Trump because people didn't like Trump, but he's certainly not pulling off something again. Not with his performance at this level. People genuinely believed everything's bad because of Trump. Now it's worse under Biden. So they're going to say, give me back Trump, please. Now, okay, well, here you go. Joe Biden is old. 79 years old now. He will be 82 when the next president is inaugurated in 2025. He is also underwater in the polls. According to 538's poll of polls, fewer than 40% of voters rate his presidency positively. Okay, well, let's go through the numbers. Let's go right for it. We got the President Joe Biden job approval. Job approval on the economy and foreign policy, blah, blah, blah. Here's the average. USA Today Suffolk just released a poll showing his approval rating at 39%. His disapproval at 58%. His spread in aggregate is minus 14.9. Over here, at Interactive Polls, you ready for this? President 2024 general election. Trump, with 44% to Biden's 42%. Wow, that's amazing. Among Hispanics, Trump is at 39 to Biden's 28. Yo, that's apocalyptic. Donald Trump is 11 points up among Hispanics next to Biden. Granted, Hispanics still don't like Trump all that much. Among independent voters, this is it. Trump is at 47% to Biden's 28%. You've lost. That's it. Donald Trump has the middle of the road. He has about half of independents. That's huge. And there it is. The swing voters. How do you expect to win? Well, The View host Sonny Hosted has an idea. Harris Buttigieg 2024 ticket would obliterate Trump or DeSantis. And that has to be the most psychotic thing I've ever heard. You think Kamala Harris, who is very unpopular and didn't get a single delegate, would beat Ron DeSantis of tremendous popularity? You think Pete Buttigieg, who's as generic as a candidate can beat someone as popular as Ron DeSantis or Trump? Now, Trump's got his haters for sure. The Washington Times reports, the ladies of The View can't wait for the 2024 Dream Ticket. Kamala and Mayor Pete. In segment Tuesday, co-host Sunny Hostin called Florida Governor Ron DeSantis a murderous fascist. Death Santis, she deliberately called him, who would easily be defeated by that ticket. She said that if President Biden did not run for re-election, as a number of Democrats are speculating about or even hoping for, Vice President Kamala Harris and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg would be great as a ticket. Do you really think they could win? Really? Asked co-host Joy Behar. Mr. Biden defeated both of them on his way to clinching the 2020 Democratic nomination. Well, I would vote for them, Ms. Hostin gushed. I hope this country is ready for something like that. I think the brain power alone would just obliterate Donald Trump or DeSantis. Ms. Hostin suggested there were other good Democratic candidates, especially the pretty ones. I do think there are plenty of Democrats that have tons of verve and energy. I like Gavin Newsom, because he's really pretty to look at. Yeah, okay. As long as it isn't the governor of Florida. I hope it's not Death Santis over in Florida, because I think he's a fascist. Why? What did he do? I think he handled COVID miserably. I think he's a fascist and a bigot. Ms. Behar then put in, those are good points, except more people are moving to Florida than any other states. Certainly people love what he's doing over there, right? All right. Give us the breakdown, CNN. Tell us. What is the ranking in the 2024 Democratic field? Chris Cillizza is basically saying, yeah, well, might not beat Joe Biden, so who do we have? Chris Murphy. Who? Who? And nobody knows who that is. Come on. The Connecticut senators at the center of negotiations of a new legislation for guns, blah, blah. Okay. Roy Cooper. Who? Seriously? A Democrat in North Carolina. Okay. Well, that was number 10 and number 9. Here we go. Number 8, Cory Booker. All right, well, we got Cory Booker. I'm sorry, dude. Cory Booker is B tier, and we all know it. He's Spartacus. Yeah, I don't think people are going to take this guy seriously. New Jersey senator. Next up, we have Amy Klobuchar. Klobuchar is also B tier. Yeah, I just don't see it. Dit player. Now, Joe Biden, I hate to admit it, but despite all the guy's shortcomings, he has more gravitas than the rest of these so far. That's why I think they said we had to go with Joe Biden. He was already vice president. He was there and people felt that. But you look at Cory Booker and Amy Klobuchar, you're not thinking I could see them as president. I gotta be honest, Joe Biden either, but I would say, more so than these two. Elizabeth Warren, oh, spare me. She's not. That's ridiculous. Next up, we have Gavin Newsom at number 5. Okay, Newsom I can see. That guy looks like a hotshot business type. An 80s businessman, as it were. Maybe Gavin Newsom. He does come off as like a generic kind of presidential. I don't mean presidential in like his abilities. I mean like, you look at him and you're like, that could be a president, right? President Newsom. We'll see. Still, I don't think so. I don't think Newsom has what even Biden had, and Biden's brain doesn't even work. Next up, we got Pete Buttigieg. Sorry. Pete Buttigieg is a bit player, and they keep trying, but it ain't gonna happen. Bernie Sanders. Okay. Bernie I can see. The man talks with vigor. And people really like him. They do. I think he's duplicitous like most of these Democrats, but I certainly see Bernie as having more than any of these other candidates because he's got the energy about him. I really do. I see Bernie Sanders as an A class A, right? He's at B tier. He's A tier. Doesn't mean I think he can win. Not against Trump or DeSantis. Then they put number 2 at Kamala Harris. Oh, please. She's the bottom of the barrel. And then Joe Biden. They say number 1, there is zero question that Biden is in bad political shape at the moment. Approval ratings in the high 30s, gas at $5 a gallon. Inflation the highest it has been in 40 years. There's also zero question that if Biden decides he wants to run for a second term, he will almost certainly be the party's nominee, and probably won't have to fight all that hard for it. It's an open question as to whether that is the best thing for Democrats nationally. Are you seriously saying you think Joe Biden is number 1? At 82 years old, running for re-election? Yo, just stop. I'll tell you, Democrats have no idea what they're doing, and let them spiral. Here's the story from the Wall Street Journal why Democrats are funding the GOP fringe. Hoping to face the weaker candidates, they're running ads that help the far right. What? You're spending your money to prop up Republicans? Oh, Democrats, what are you doing? Oh, this is what they're doing. Here we go, come on. From timcast.com. Poll. Inflation top concern for over 90% of all voters. More people are concerned with the economy now than in previous month. You think? Why would Democrats believe that funding far-right candidates, doing the January 6th, do you think this is going to save you? They don't learn, do they? They're insane. That's just it. Look, I don't know what's going to happen with the primaries. I don't know what's going to happen in the midterms or in the election. Maybe, to my surprise, Amy Klobuchar wins. I can't see the future. Don't ask me. I can certainly tell you, though, there's a real potential for a constitutional crisis. It's not going to go the way you think it will. In 2020, Trump and his associates were screaming fraud. There were lawsuits, and ultimately we got a very interesting lawsuit. It was original jurisdiction. 48 states all involved in lawsuits against each other over whether or not certain states handled their elections properly. I believe it started with Texas. I mean, that's crazy. This country was on the verge of tearing itself apart as half the states were suing the other half. Or something like that. Ultimately, I believe the Supreme Court said, get out of here, we're not looking at this. My attitude is, just win. Get so many votes, prove it, just win. Otherwise, it's all going to be torn apart. Now we're heading into the midterms, and right now we have this from WHSV. New Mexico election crisis intensifies as deadline looms. Here's the story. Republican Commission in Otero County, New Mexico, refused to certify the results of the election, saying, we don't trust these voting machines from Dominion. Well, personally, I don't like proprietary voting machines. I think they should be public, open source. But here we go. A standoff in a Republican-dominated county condition, and New Mexico's Democratic Secretary of State over the Commission's conspiracy-fueled refusal to certify election results came to a head, the state's certification deadline. The showdown is proving a stark example of the chaos that election experts have warned out, as those who promote the lie that former President Donald Trump was cheated out of re-election seek to populate election offices across the country, and the usually low-profile boards that certify the results. The governing commission in Otero County refused to certify the local results. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I told this story yesterday. Here's the thing. The Secretary of State filed a suit. The court said, you must do it. The Secretary of State's office asked the Attorney General to investigate. There was a court order. They say it can be felonies if it's a violation of ethics, if the action is willful. At least one of the 3 county commissioners, Commissioner Coy Griffin, told CNN he was not planning to vote for certification. Quote, why have a commission if we just get overridden by the court system? It was not immediately clear what would happen next if the county refuses to certify its results. A typically ministerial duty, but one that has drawn the spotlight since Trump tried to pressure some certification boards in the aftermath of the presidential election in 2020. Okay, I've got a serious question. What does happen? No one seems to know. Are we all just going to stand around shrugging? And they're going to be like, but you have to certify the results. It's ministerial. And then the response from them is, if that were the case, you wouldn't need the commission anyway. In which case, seems like there's a stalemate and no one knows what's going to happen. I don't. No, I think things are going to get crazy. Well, I should say, I think things can get crazy. They're basically saying, we don't care what the courts say. There at least this one guy is. AP has a story. Election crisis intensifies. So the deadline's today? What happens if he just says, yeah, see what happens? What if this is testing the waters? Come November, let's say, to the shock of Trump supporters, Democrats end up doing better than polls suggested, which makes no sense because we know that the polls favor the Democrats. All of a sudden, these Republicans say there's no way. All the data suggests otherwise. This doesn't make sense. And then you get a wave. Let's say 300 counties refuse to certify. Let's say even 17, 20 members of Congress are not certified. What happens on January 3rd? Who goes to D.C.? What if a bunch of these counties send more than one person? Yeah, that's where things get weird. If Republicans refuse to certify, or en masse certify the results they deem to be appropriate, or anyone does, Democrats or Republicans, then what happens when you have two politicians from one district? It's not just about Democrats either. Part of the chaos is also Robbie Starbuck in Tennessee. They boot him off the ballot for no reason. It's completely corrupt. What if people voted in? What if he wins independent voters? What if people vote for a write-in candidate, Robbie Starbuck in Tennessee? What happens if he does manage to win? And the GOP says no, and they say we won't certify those results. You really gotta wonder, huh? To see where this will go. Biden DOJ thwarts GOP senators seeking answers on Hunter Biden investigation. Conflict of interest. This is why I am no fan of the Bidens, and I think we need change. Because the corruption isn't just in the election. It's not just whether or not we are going to get clean results and accept them. It's the fact that under Joe Biden there is rampant corruption. And we all know it. So what do you do, man? I don't know. I can tell you it's the economy, stupid. I can say that Democrats don't play by the rules. Here's another story from Timcast. Democrat legislators announced plan to subvert SCOTUS decision that overturns Roe v. Wade. Don't forget Casey, Adrian. Overturns Casey as well. Casey v. Planned Parenthood. 25 senators urge Biden to take executive action. You can't do that. Why didn't I try? And then if Joe Biden does, here's what happens. The president issues an executive order. Trump did this. And then it's incumbent upon the people to challenge it to the Supreme Court. That's insane. The president can just do it, and then we have to cross our fingers and hope we can make it to a legal battle to win. This is where things are going. Personally, I think the Democratic Party is in shambles, which means victory is looming for Republicans to a degree we've not seen in a long time. The silent majority, as it were. But Democrats have lost the plot. Everything they're saying and doing, their support for the far-left extremists. That's why I think civil war seems all but inevitable. I mean, you take a look at what's going on in New Mexico. To go back to that story. What happens when two slates of electors in 2024 show up to cast their vote? We had this almost in 2020. It was funny. I did a story. And I said, GOP electors cast ballot for Donald Trump. And then I think it was some fashion agency was like, this is fake news, Tim. And then I was like, no, it isn't. They literally did. And they're like, but they weren't certified electors. I didn't say they were. In fact, at the beginning of the video, I literally said they weren't certified electors. I said it was the GOP slate of electors. What else do I call them? That's what it was. And they literally signed off on their own slate. Democrats tried claiming that it was a coup attempt by doing so, but they did it with Nixon and Kennedy, you know? The fact that no one will agree and that everything is a coup attempt says to me that we're just dangerously close to that point. Coy Griffin is awaiting sentencing over his involvement in January 6th to whatever degree it was. I'd imagine it wasn't as crazy as they say because they're all like misdemeanors. Maybe that's why he's saying, I'm not certifying, I'm going to jail anyway, right? Maybe he's saying, I don't trust it, I won't trust it, and I won't stand for it. Steve Bannon wants more conservatives to become poll watchers and poll workers, election workers. So what happens when he gets his wish, and in 2 years' time, half of poll workers are diehard Trump supporters? What happens when they say you can't make us certify anything? What happens when the court say, if you don't, we'll hold you in contempt, and they say, do it? We don't know. That's the interesting thing. If they can't get certification, and there's a legal battle, and then no representatives or elected officials actually go to office, I'm sure you'll end up with Democrats and Republicans sending their reps, and it'll be like Deacon Hundreds all over again. And then what? Civil war? Maybe eventually you get someone caned in Congress or the Senate, just like in the 1860s. But friends, I can't see the future. One thing I can say for now, Joe Biden doesn't have it. Democrats don't have anyone to replace him, and they know it, and they are frantic and panicking. And that means Donald Trump probably has a clear path straight towards a re-election in 2024. And we all know what that means for Democrats. To them, it's apocalyptic. I don't think they could beat Ron DeSantis because they have nothing against him. I mean, they'll try and smear him and call him a fascist. With Donald Trump, look, Trump made some mistakes, don't get me wrong. So they're hoping they can go up against Trump to beat him. But I don't think they can beat Trump either. Joe Biden has just gutted this country and ripped it to its core. So what'll they do if Trump DeSantis is the 2024 ticket and it wins? You'd think they're going to sit back and be like, good game, everybody. Shake the hands and be like, well, we'll try again next time. Or do you think they're going to start pulling out their hair, screaming, and banging their heads on the wall? I think it could only get worse. 2020 was bad. 2024 will be worse. It's going to be an exaggeration and escalation of everything. It's already happening. I don't know. Maybe they'll try running Joe Biden because they're crazy people. And then when Joe Biden loses to, like, astounding numbers, because he's like Jimmy Carter, worse than Carter, Trump wins that landslide. Yeah, we'll see, man. I do think Democrats got to get Joe Biden out of there and get somebody else, but I don't think they got anything else anyway. Maybe it'll be Newsom. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.